Stark, and welcome back to another episode where we are on site today with Tony Lee, owner of Lucca's, and Basil. Tony, thanks for having us today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, this is exciting because I know we're a big fan of both restaurants, and tell us, I guess, a little bit about kind of your origin story. I know you've been in restaurants for a long time,
I'm a local guy, born and raised here in Canton. Family, my parents, aunts, uncles, they had restaurants. Probably the most well-known one is called Ricky Lee's, and I think the family closed that up in 2009. I went to college for a little bit, but something in my gut just kept telling me it's time to drop out and get back in the restaurant biz, and that's what I did. Yeah.
Did you work in the kitchen at Ricky Lee's when you were in high school?
No. I was a busboy. I started as a busboy. Okay. My mom had a small carry-out, like more of a carry-out place in Hartville, and that's where I would be in the back washing dishes or cutting chicken and vegetables for her and doing my homework. But most of my working education in the business was always front of the house.
Okay.
In the beginning, yeah.
How old were you when you opened Lucca? You said it's been open for 11 years? Basil.
Yeah, Basil. I opened Basil when I was 23.
Wow. That's a big undertaking.
Oh, it's hard to believe. If I knew what I know now, I wouldn't have done it. I think part of it was just the naivete, you know. Okay. I've always been in the restaurant business, but to be in that role as managerial owner operator, I probably would have done it.
Well, a lot different running a big restaurant than cutting chicken in the back of your mom's
just a little bit.
Right? How did it go from the get-go? I mean, in my mind it was pretty successful immediately.
A lot of controlled chaos. I was very fortunate. I had a lot of great mentors and help. My father was very hands-on. He still is today. An aunt, uncle helped me a lot, and I was just surrounded by so many people, much more knowledgeable and experienced than I was.
I think one thing I found so impressive is sustained success. I mean, I know that's tough in the restaurant industry, but it seems like since you've gotten involved, not only, you said you wouldn't do it again if you knew what you're getting into, but you've since taken on multiple other projects. So I guess what has led to that success, and what makes you keep wanting to take on more?
Oh, I just enjoy giving myself brain damage there. That's really, after you go through a certain point, it's just all the same. But no, I mean, I'm passionate about it. Hate to admit, it's probably the only thing I'm decent at.
You're very good at it.
But it's a great business. It certainly has given me more than I would have ever could ask from it. I couldn't tell you if there's a secret sauce or anything. It's just, you just have to show up. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty. There's if anyone asks me how do you do it, or if they're considering getting into their bar or restaurant business, I would tell them my first word of advice is don't do it. But if you're gonna do it, you just have to be there. It's a lifestyle.
You didn't rest on your laurels at Basil either. I mean, after so many years, you started opening other projects. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Again, probably just more of the naivety. I've slowed down. I'm talking to you guys at Lucca right now, and Lucca is my 10th restaurant.
Wow. In 11 years.
11 years, 11, 12, yeah. Yeah, I only have 6 now to this day, just 6. But I don't know. I think a part of it was I just didn't want to ever just wonder, like, what if, Mm-hmm. So rather than that, like, let's just try it. And if it doesn't work out, and then we just cut our losses and we'll try again. Some of the concepts that I've had are just in general in life, some of the ideas that I thought would never work or were just too silly end up becoming like some of our home runs, and the ones that we thought were for sure winners just belly it up, and you just kind of lick your wounds and just keep going.
I was sad that the noodle restaurant in Green didn't take, because the food was great, the concept was good, the place looked good. I kind of always hoped you were going to move that
There's
into
still a
Canton.
possibility.
He said he slowed down. He hasn't
Slowed
stopped.
down,
Right?
That's-
Okay.
Yeah, just some other priorities outside of the restaurant business. Having a son now, and certainly, COVID just kind of had me just kind of like to look at things differently. I'm sure that's not a unique situation. But yeah.
Has having that success for so long at Basil helped? I know staffing's always a challenge in any industry right now, but with multiple restaurants, do you have any crossover there where you have a little staffing that may cross over from one to the next?
We have a few people, especially since Lucca and Basil and Canton, they're both so close in proximity. We have a couple members of our staff that will, and not just myself. Yeah, you guys will see me run back and forth to Court Avenue on the weekends quite often. But other than that, no. I mean, like once you've kind of nurture any store, any business, it's you realize who your key people are, the ones that will rely on them, and that's really the only way I've been able to grow and own more than one restaurant, one business. It's just due to my staff and my team.
Well, I know anytime I have a crazy idea that I think is a great business model, I always end up talking myself out of them. So what I want to know is what are those things you're looking for to say this is the right place, this is the right time, this is the right concept to give it a try?
Oh man,
it's a big question,
That's a
but
big
I mean
question.
you've done it several times. So
yeah.
obviously
Like, here's the $1 million formula.
Yeah.
No, I honestly, this is the only business that I can think of. Right, you can have one wildly successful restaurant, literally take a footprint, carbon copy of it, move it 3 towns over, and just watch it miserably fail.
Right.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you. I think, as long as you have a good product and you've got great staff, the restaurant business for the most part is pretty recession proof, and we saw that during the COVID shutdown. How many people wanted to support their favorite restaurants and bars, even with just the carry-out business alone. I guess what makes one restaurant different from the next, other than we're all doing the same thing, we're preparing food, and you certainly have to capture some type of je ne sais quoi, going to your favorite place certainly has a feeling, and that's why you keep going to the same restaurant. If you think about it, most of us probably only frequent same 3 restaurants on a rotation 8 out of the 10 times, right? And then you have your occasional date night, like, oh, special occasion, anniversary, let's try this place that's out of town. So at least whenever I approach a new restaurant, bar, concept, wherever we're at, how do we make it as comfortable as we can for our potentially new customers, because you want to turn new customers into regular customers. So you have to be able to break into their psyche of what their typical normal patterns are. They're rotating 3, 4, 5 rotating restaurants that they frequent. Those are, and it's probably different for most people, but you kind of get, just paint with a broad brush. You just figure out what those things are, right? Location's part of it. We are downtown, which has its own unique challenges. But as far as concept, cuisine, service, those are all the same. You can keep those the same anywhere you go in the world, right? So just trying to figure those out, narrow it down, and convince any new face that comes in, like, why you are deserving of being one of their normal spots that they go to every other week.
Well, I know Dan's dying to talk about some specific food, so
Oh,
Yeah,
that-
yeah,
well,
yeah, sure.
I think we ought to talk about Lucca a little bit because this was not your launch. This was an existing restaurant
Yes,
that you took
yes.
over, and you've enjoyed a lot of success kind of from the get-go, right?
Yeah, so Lucca, a little bit about Lucca. This place opened up about a year before Basil did, and so what we do here is finer Italian, a lot of it in homage to northern Italy, Tuscan region. Lucca is actually named after another town in Italy, in the Tuscan region. This restaurant was started by a father-son duo, the Shories, Bobby and Josh. And I actually had lunch here when there was one year, summer maybe, that Josh was open for lunch here. And this is where first time I met both of my business partners that I have today. We had lunch here and I met Bobby, met his son Josh. And I've just have so many great memories tied to just this building alone. So yeah, my two would-be and continuous business partners. I also brought my wife here for dinner before I proposed to her. So yes, so I have my own selfish reasons, to keep this business going, this restaurant going. So.
Talk about the vibe here a little bit. It's kind of got its own thing
It does.
going on here.
I mean, I feel like I'm in downtown Chicago whenever I come here, as a more than just as not just a guest, but just working here. I love being here. That it's kind of like I get what I was kind of describing, that lightning in a bottle feeling that you're, and I'm not the one that created it, but certainly my goal was just to nurture it more and more since I got involved. So wanted it to be a place where you felt comfortable, where as soon as you walked in, you just didn't feel like you were in Canton. A little break from that, but just comfortable enough that it would be one of those places that you would frequent quite as often as you can, right? I mean, it's always there in your mind. So we wanted it to be warm and just also,
fine dining, but very casual.
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't like to use the term fine dining too much.
Yeah.
Because everyone has their own idea of what that is, right? And so I just don't want to put ourselves too far into that label. But yeah, I mean, if I've had the privilege of going to Italy. And I will say this is pretty as darn close as we can get from being there as far as the quality of our cuisine goes. We make our own pastas daily, right here underneath us in the basement. And our chef, Max, he's another local guy. He's just one of the most talented men I've ever worked with in this industry. Really just nails it as far as authenticity and quality goes. And in our open kitchen, if you come here often enough, you'll see it's the same faces. So consistency, there's no denying. It's the same guys making it every time.
Well, I know, switching over to Basil a little bit, has a very loyal following, really a large menu, which I'm always impressed with. Like every time I go there, I want to order everything on the menu, and a great sushi menu too. So I guess, what do you think makes Basil so unique? Because people, I feel like, swear by it. Like that is, I know you don't like to use fine dining loosely, but I know a lot of people are like, when they're going out for a night out of town, like, I'm gonna go to Basil. That's their spot.
I don't. I wonder too. I really wonder too. I mean, no, our food's great. Our food's great. My whole menu was built by my father, who he's got 40 years in the business, cooking, owned his own restaurants. I couldn't have done it without him. Yeah, I mean, and the secret is all Chinese restaurant menus are huge because you replace a couple vegetables and you just give it a new name, and that's kind of like the joke, right?
But I don't feel like that's the case though on Basil's menu. I mean, you have a lot of unique ingredients in there that from one dish to the next. It doesn't look like you're just swapping ingredients out by any means.
And the sushi is a full operation too.
Yeah,
it's not like an afterthought. It's like on point.
Thank you. I couldn't tell you guys. It's just something I've been doing my whole life. I've been around especially that type of food forever. When my family opened up their first restaurant, Ricky Lee's in the 80s. I mean, they were just off the get-go from the rib, just really well. Just did so well for themselves.
Are there any recipes that have carried over from
Most of them
Hercules?
have,
Okay.
yeah. Probably about 90%.
Okay.
If not more. And what that is it's just like a lot of, it's kind of funny, but it's the only way I can describe it, like with French culinary techniques and such. I mean, a lot of Chinese, Asian cooking, very similar. We have our own mother sauces, that we would, lack of a better term, and that same mother sauce was the same one that it's just been in my family for generations. I'm just the only one that was foolish enough to keep staying in the restaurant business. All my other cousins did the right thing. They went to college, got great jobs.
So Tony, when you go to Basil, what do you most order? What have you eaten there the most of any?
You knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I mean, because I'm guessing you eat pretty many meals there.
Yeah, I have a guilty pleasure, and that's General Tso's. And I just say that as a guilty pleasure because it's like the least authentic Asian dish you can probably order. But it's just so good.
Oh, it is. It's like the chicken tenders of Asian dish.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
I can do but my family's actually from Vietnam, and we do have a couple Vietnamese dishes, and so maybe that'll be like another. That's always been like a bucket list, is to open up a Vietnamese restaurant. But until then, come to Basil and try the pho, the Vietnamese pho. It's a bone broth. It's done in 24 hours, served with vermicelli noodles, thin slices of meat. I know you've checked out my ramen joint when I had it, but as far as noodle soups go, that was my childhood was eating pho.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I love it.
The gateway to Asian noodle soup for me was that. Just wanted to try all the variations and different other noodle soups.
You're making me very hungry.
I know.
Yeah.
And it smells delicious in here right now.
Okay,
Always
well,
smells so
let's
good in
flip
here.
it around, and what do you most eat at Lucca, and maybe what would you most recommend?
My favorite dish is the clam linguine. And I'll tell you why. Because it is the most Chinese menu item you will find in an Italian restaurant. It's just noodles and clams. So simple, but so well with the clam sauce and our house-made linguine noodles. What I would recommend on your first visit, probably the Gorgonzola Dolce. It's made with bucatini noodles, and for those that don't know, bucatini is going to be the long noodles that are hollowed in. So just imagine an elongated macaroni noodle, okay? And it's tossed in our Gorgonzola, which is like an Italian blue cheese. So Max uses an authentic Gorgonzola. They builds that with a cream sauce, lets that simmer. Then he combines that with parsnips, a little bit of pancetta, and our house-made bucatini.
Wow.
And it's pretty rich, but it is so good. It's dynamite. I can't think of another word to describe it.
That sounds really good. Well, I got one more question, and you opened the door to this talking about the possible Vietnamese restaurant. You've had a lot of great concepts, but I know you got a lot more up here that you've been thinking about. Anything else?
All the brain damage.
I know.
It's all the brain damage.
Anything else we can tease out there for our listeners that you might have out in store in the future?
I guess I'm just kind of waiting and see. I've realized, just being patient, because the opportunities when I first started, it was just I was just chasing, and just coming up with all these concepts. I just was firing off. Because what I said, I just didn't want to wonder like what if, but now it's maybe it's come with age, right? So just learn to just be patient,
A little more
and just,
selective, huh?
Yeah, just be a little bit more selective and just tinkering with concepts in my mind, just running through them like little mental gymnastics and making a couple dishes here and there when it's appropriate to try them out. So we'll see.
We'll see. All right. Well, we appreciate you having us. Again, it smells terrific in here. I hope everybody comes and checks out Lucca and Basil and whatever's to come. So
Yeah, thank you.
all right.
Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for having me.
And we'll see everybody next time on What's Up Start.